Hey Reddit, I'm 29F and honestly, I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I've always been the type to mind my business, keep the peace, and give people the benefit of the doubt. Especially family. But after what happened this past month, I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again, especially not my brother. It all started 3 weeks ago when I moved into a new townhouse. I'd finally saved enough after years of scrimping and working a dead-end admin job I hated. This place was mine. First time living alone after breaking up with my long-term ex last fall. I was excited, terrified, but excited. My older brother Mark, 32M, had been weirdly supportive through everything. He helped me find the place, offered to assemble furniture, and even insisted on setting up a security system as a housewarming gift. He works in tech, so I figured hey, why not? Free stuff, right? He brought over 2 small black cameras and installed one in the living room and another by the front door. Said they were motion activated, no audio, just peace of mind in case of break-ins. I didn't think much of it. I'm not very tech-savvy, and I trusted him. He's my brother. But ever since moving in, something's felt off. Like, really off. I kept misplacing things. Not in the I'm stressed and forgetful kind of way, but in the this mug was literally on the counter 5 minutes ago and now it's gone kind of way. Or I'd come home and smell faint traces of cologne when I knew I hadn't had any visitors. I chalked it up to paranoia, maybe anxiety from living alone for the first time. Then came the kicker. Last Thursday, I had a weird dream. One of those half-sleep states where your brain swears someone's watching you. I woke up around 3 a.m., sweating, heart racing, and I swear I heard my front door click shut. I checked the door. It was locked. Nothing was missing. But my gut was screaming that something was wrong. And that's when I remembered the cameras. Only, I didn't know how to access the footage. Mark never gave me login details. He said he'd sync everything to my phone later but never followed up. So the next morning, I texted him casually, asking if he could send me the info. He took 5 hours to reply, and when he did, he said he'd stop by that weekend to check on the system in person. That's when the dread hit me like a truck. I started to think, what if this wasn't about security at all? What if the cameras weren't just for the front door? What if they were never for my safety? I couldn't let it go. The more I thought about it, the more things didn't add up. Why didn't Mark give me access from the beginning? Why delay so long? And why insist on coming over instead of just sending the login info? That night, I couldn't sleep. My head was spinning. I got up around 2 a.m. and started looking around the living room. I know it sounds crazy, but I began pulling apart the bookshelf, checking under the couch, behind the TV. I didn't even know what I was looking for, just something that would make sense of the awful feeling crawling under my skin. Then I saw it. A small black dot on the bookshelf near a decorative candle. It wasn't there before. I leaned in, heart pounding. It looked like a tiny lens. It was a camera. Not the one he told me about. Not one of the 2 he installed for security. This one was hidden, not in plain sight. Definitely not meant for my eyes. I wanted to scream. Instead, I grabbed a flashlight and started going room by room. One in the kitchen. One facing the hallway outside my bathroom. And the worst one of all, tucked into a vent in my bedroom. That's when I lost it. I was shaking. This wasn't protection. This wasn't family helping out. This was invasion. Violation. I didn't want to panic, so I took a deep breath and reminded myself I needed proof. Mark's tech-savvy, but I'm not helpless. I work in admin, and one thing I do know how to do is track company hardware. So I pulled out my work laptop and started running some basic wireless network scans, just to see what devices were connected to my Wi-Fi. 4 unknown devices showed up, none of which matched anything I owned. One of them had a name that made my stomach drop. Omnicam Home M. Watts. M. Watts. Mark Watts. His name. I copied the IP address and started digging. Eventually, I found a manufacturer dashboard website used to control these types of cameras remotely. But I needed login info. I tried a few guesses. First his birthday. Then his gamer tag. Then, stupidly, our childhood dog's name. And it worked. Just like that, I was inside. And what I saw made me wish I hadn't looked. The dashboard loaded slowly, like it knew what was coming. I was sitting there, alone in my dark kitchen at 3 a.m., clutching my laptop like it could protect me from what I was about to see. There were folders, each labeled with dates. He had been recording me for over a month. I clicked the most recent folder. Inside were video files, labeled by room, living room, kitchen, hallway, bedroom. I started with the living room, hoping it was all a misunderstanding. Maybe he really was trying to keep me safe. Maybe the hidden cameras weren't his. Maybe this was all one big, creepy mistake. But then I saw myself. I was walking around in a towel, straight from the shower. eating cereal on the couch, doing yoga at night, stretching in leggings I would never wear in front of my brother. And he had watched all of it. The timestamps showed downloads. The interface showed playback logs. I clicked over to the bedroom folder. That was the moment I stopped breathing. There I was, asleep in bed. The footage was dark, but you could still make out everything. Me tossing and turning. Me getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Me getting dressed for work. I watched myself step into underwear, a tank top, and it hit me. He watched me change. Over and over. The playback bar showed it had been watched multiple times. I felt sick. My own brother. My flesh and blood. The guy who used to help me with homework and walk me home from school. What kind of monster does this? I sat there for a while, staring at the screen like it was going to explain something. But it didn't. There was no explanation. No excuse. Just hours and hours of quiet, disgusting footage. My life, through his eyes. And that's when I noticed something else. One file didn't match the others. It was labeled Friday_night_visitor.mp4. My blood ran cold. Because I had only had one visitor that night, and it was someone I hadn't told Mark about. My ex. I hesitated before clicking the file. My finger hovered over the trackpad for a solid minute. Part of me didn't want to know. I already felt violated in ways I couldn't fully process, but something about that file name, Friday_night_visitor.mp4, told me this was bigger than I thought. So I clicked. The video opened with the hallway cam. You could see the front door. A timestamp read 11:38 p.m. Then there he was, my ex, Lucas. We hadn't talked in months, but that night, after a lot of back and forth texts and too many glasses of wine, I invited him over. He stayed for a couple of hours. Nothing crazy happened. We talked, we cried, we kissed a little, but ultimately, I told him it wasn't going anywhere. He left around 2 a.m., and that was that. Only apparently, it wasn't. The footage didn't just show Lucas entering and leaving. It followed everything. There was a clip from the living room camera. We were sitting close, talking. Then leaning in. A kiss. My face flushed, his hand on my thigh. I fast-forwarded in horror. More clips. More angles. Even audio, from somewhere. I had been told there was no audio. He lied. And it wasn't just recorded. The playback counter showed that clip had been watched 5 times. Suddenly, I remembered something from earlier that week. Mark had been acting weird. We met up for coffee that Sunday and I mentioned I was thinking about dating again. I didn't name anyone. He got strangely quiet, stiff, then gave me this half-smile and said, "Just be careful who you let into your place." At the time, I thought he was being overprotective. But now I realize he already knew. He'd seen everything. And that was when the final piece clicked into place. I opened the settings tab in the app. There was a notification history. And right there at the top. Saturday, 2:43 a.m., device deleted remotely. Hallway cam 2. That was the vent camera in my bedroom. He didn't want to see what happened after Lucas and I went in there. Or maybe he did, but deleted the evidence afterward, trying to be clever. Maybe he thought I'd never know. But I did now. He had been watching me. Obsessing over me. And once he saw another man in that space, my space, he tried to erase it. It was no longer just creepy. It was dangerous. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in my kitchen, heart pounding, flipping between rage and disbelief. My brother, Mark, was watching me. Not just watching, recording me. Downloading videos of me changing, kissing my ex, living my private life. And I knew him well enough to know one thing, he would never stop. Not unless he had to. So I made a decision. I wasn't just going to confront him. I was going to expose him. But I needed him to walk into his own mess. Live. First, I logged out of the camera dashboard, took screenshots of every disgusting folder, download log, and timestamp. I saved everything to a USB stick and then backed it up in 3 different cloud drives under random names. I wasn't taking any chances. Then, I waited until morning. Around 10 a.m., I texted Mark. "Hey, any chance you can stop by today? Something's up with the camera in the living room. It's glitching, I think." He responded right away. "On my way in 30. You okay?" I almost laughed. "You okay?" "Yeah, Mark. I'm great. Just discovering that my own brother's been spying on me like a predator." He showed up exactly 32 minutes later. Same stupid smirk. Same confident tone. "You said the camera was glitching?" I nodded, motioned toward the shelf. "Yeah, it blinked a few times. I thought maybe the motion sensor was broken." He walked over, crouched in front of the bookshelf, and started fiddling with it. I stared at the back of his head, thinking how surreal it was that I used to trust this man with my spare keys. That he used to make me mac and cheese when I had the flu. While he was distracted, I pulled out my phone and hit record. "Hey, Mark," I said, keeping my voice casual. "You never told me there was audio." He froze. Just for a second, but I saw it. That twitch in his shoulder. That half-second of silence where his brain raced to catch up. "There isn't," he said. "Why?" "Oh," I shrugged. "Because I found some clips last night with full-on conversations recorded. From the hallway. The kitchen. Even the living room." Another pause. "Did you find the app?" he asked, not turning around. I didn't answer. He finally turned to face me. His expression was different now, tight, cautious. "Okay, look, if this is about Lucas." There it was. The name. He knew. I stepped back, still recording. "Why would this be about Lucas's Mark? Unless you watched that too?" He opened his mouth, closed it again, then exhaled. "Okay, just calm down." "Don't tell me to calm down." I snapped. My voice cracked, and my hands were shaking. "You watched me for weeks. You put a camera in my F********************* bedroom, Mark. Do you understand how insane that is?" And for the first time, he looked afraid. Not guilty. Afraid. Because I wasn't yelling. I wasn't crying. I was recording. Mark's face went pale when he realized what I was doing. His eyes flicked to the phone in my hand, then back to my face. That smug brother I grew up with? Gone. Replaced with a stuttering man grasping for control. "You're recording me," he said quietly, like I'd betrayed him. I didn't respond. I just kept the camera steady. He stepped forward like he was about to reach for the phone, but I backed up fast and pointed at him. "Touch me or this phone and I swear, I'll call the police right now." That stopped him cold. He raised his hands like he was surrendering. "Look, okay. I messed up. I just wanted to make sure you were safe. Living alone. I thought it was better if I could, keep an eye on things." I laughed. Out loud. Couldn't help it. The kind of hollow, stunned laugh you let out when you realize someone you trusted is delusional. "You had hidden cameras in my bedroom, Mark. You recorded me in private moments. You watched me with someone I hadn't even told you about. That's not protection. That's obsession. That's predatory." He went quiet again. Face red now, like he wanted to yell, but knew he couldn't. He started pacing. "I'll take them down," he said suddenly. "Right now. All of them. Just, please. Don't show anyone the footage. Don't tell Mom. Please." That's when it clicked. He didn't care that he'd crossed every imaginable boundary. He only cared about getting caught. And hearing him say "don't tell Mom" made something inside me snap. Because now I realized, this man, this brother who used to make me laugh so hard I cried, the one who told me every bad boyfriend I ever had wasn't good enough, he was the worst one of all. I looked him dead in the eyes. "I already have backups," I said. "On cloud drives. And guess what? I also forwarded everything to a lawyer friend this morning. Just in case." His whole body deflated. "You're not going to press charges," he muttered, but it wasn't a challenge. It was a hope. I didn't answer. I just walked right past him, out the door, and left him standing there in my living room like the stranger he now was. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. Because if he thought I was going to let this die in silence, he didn't know me at all. After Mark left, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel sad. I felt clear. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, my brain wasn't fogged with confusion or fear. Just clarity. I wasn't going to let this get swept under the rug. Not like some family issue. Not like some uncomfortable misunderstanding. This was calculated. This was manipulative. This was criminal. So I wrote a message. I didn't name him. Not yet. But I posted screenshots of the camera dashboard, the folder names, the playback timestamps, everything. I blurred my face in private moments, but I kept the footage of the camera placements and logs. Then I wrote, "Imagine finding out your own brother secretly installed hidden cameras in your home. One in your bedroom. One in your bathroom hallway. And then you discover he's been watching you. Recording you. 4 weeks. And he calls it keeping you safe. This is real. This is happening. And I'm not staying silent. A woman who trusted the wrong person." I posted it to Reddit. Then Instagram. Then X, everywhere. I didn't think much would come of it. I figured a few friends would DM me, some strangers might comment. That's it. But by the time I woke up the next morning, it had exploded. My DMs were flooded. The post had over 75,000 upvotes on Reddit. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of women commenting that they'd had similar gut feelings, creepy brothers, obsessive friends, helpful exes who insisted on setting up smart devices in their homes. And then I saw the email. From a journalist. They wanted to talk. They said my story had already been circulating in private groups about tech surveillance and domestic abuse. They'd never seen one quite like this, a sibling using security tech to quietly invade privacy. They asked if I'd be willing to speak on the record. And right then, I made my choice. I was going to blow this whole thing wide open. I knew going public would stir up chaos. I just didn't realize it would blow back so fast. The article dropped 2 days later. They changed my name, blurred my location, kept things anonymous, but the timeline, the details, the camera screenshots? All real. The journalist even interviewed a cybersecurity expert who confirmed this was a deliberate, organized setup. Not accidental, not poor judgment. A premeditated digital invasion. The internet lost its mind. Comments poured in. Podcasts were talking about it. Lawyers were chiming in. And then came the part one was dreading. My mother called. I didn't answer. She called again. Then she texted. Why are you doing this to Mark? That one sentence? It broke something in me. I called her back, even though my hands were shaking. She picked up instantly, and before I could even say hello, she launched in. He told me everything. He said it was a mistake. He was trying to protect you. You've always been dramatic, but this? Posting it online? Do you know what people are saying about our family? Our family. That's what she was worried about. Not my safety. Not my dignity. Not the fact that her son had watched her daughter sleep. I tried to stay calm. I told her about the bedroom camera. The deleted files. The audio. The footage of me and Lucas, and how Mark named the file after it. I told her everything. Quietly. Clearly. Letting every word hang in the air. And do you know what she said? Well, you shouldn't have invited that boy over. That's not safe, especially after drinking. That was it. That was the moment I knew I was on my own. I hung up on her mid-sentence. She texted afterward, begging me not to ruin Mark's life. Said he was struggling, that he'd always been lonely. That maybe I was taking it too far. Taking it too far? I sat there, stunned, thinking, if this had been anyone else, a landlord, a coworker, a boyfriend, would she have said the same thing? Probably not. But because it was Mark? Suddenly, I was the problem. So I blocked her number. I blocked Mark's too. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my father. He and my mom divorced when I was in high school. We'd kept in touch, but barely. It was always birthday cards and once-a-year dinners. But something in my gut told me he needed to know. And when I told him, he didn't ask if I was sure. He didn't say protect the family. He didn't defend Mark. He said 4 words that made me cry harder than I ever had in my life. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. After my dad found out, everything moved faster than I expected. He didn't just sympathize, he acted. The moment we hung up, he called his attorney. By the next morning, I had legal representation, free of charge. My dad said, let them try to silence you now. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like someone was truly in my corner. Meanwhile, the post kept spreading. The article? Trending. My inbox? Bursting. But the wildest message of all came from an anonymous account. No name. Just a burner email. Your brother installed cameras in my apartment too. I thought I was crazy. Thank you. My hands went ice cold. I read it 5 times before I could move. It meant this wasn't just me. Mark had done this before. My lawyer moved fast. We compiled everything, screenshots, the footage logs, Mark's slip-ups during our recorded conversation. And with that, she filed a formal complaint. It didn't take long. Apparently, the detective assigned to the case had already read the article. They were just waiting for the victim to come forward. But here's the twist. The police never contacted me first. They went straight to Mark. I found out the next morning when a neighbor texted me. There are cops outside your brother's place. 2 unmarked cars. And then another message. He's in handcuffs. I stood in my living room, frozen. Not triumphant. Not relieved. Just hollow. This was my brother. My big brother. The one who used to read to me when I was scared of thunderstorms. The one who taught me to ride a bike. And now? He was being taken away for watching me sleep. For watching other women sleep. And still, part of me wanted to scream. Because deep down, even after everything, I had loved him. And I never asked for this war. But when I saw the headline the next day, local man arrested in hidden camera scandal following viral Reddit post, I knew one thing. I might not have asked for this, but I finished it. The arrest made everything real. What had started as a gut feeling turned into a wildfire that couldn't be put out. My inbox overflowed. Reporters called. Podcasts wanted interviews. Women, strangers, shared stories of the same kind of gut-churning violations. Some even started using the hashtag #MyBrotherToo. But in the middle of all that noise, I just felt quiet. Mark was charged with multiple counts of illegal surveillance and digital privacy violations. When the cops searched his devices, they found more than just my footage. There were folders of other women. Some were neighbors. One was a former coworker. One of them had gone to the police a year earlier but was told there wasn't enough to pursue. Now there was. He was denied bail. The judge called him a disturbing example of how trust can be weaponized. Still, people asked if I'd go to the hearing, face him in court, sit across from him and tell him what he'd taken from me. But I didn't. Because he already knew. The last time I saw Mark was in that video, caught on my phone, standing in my living room, finally realizing that I knew everything. That the little sister he thought would always stay quiet had outsmarted him. Outsmarted the tech guy. The protector. The man who thought he had control. I never watched the footage again. I deleted every file after the police made their copies. Erased them all. Burned the USB. Even changed Wi-Fi networks, replaced every device in my home. I wasn't going to let even pixels of that version of my life exist anymore. My mother and I haven't spoken since the night she told me I ruined the family. But my dad? He's back in my life, for real this time. We talk weekly now. He even helped me pick out a new place, somewhere smaller, quieter, safer. One morning, while unpacking boxes in my new apartment, I found a photo from when Mark and I were little. I was maybe 6. He had his arm around me, grinning like a hero. I stared at it for a long time. And then I tore it in half. Because the brother in that picture? He doesn't exist anymore. I do. I exist. I survived. I fought back. And I won.